All right, guys, back to work. We survived FOMC. Hope you had a great Fed day out there, but it's about that time of day again here. Time to get back to work. Got Reaction Thursday coming right around the corner. It's Wednesday evening. It's the 16th day of March 2022. My name is Joseph, and as always, welcome back to your nightly newsletter. Now, you're watching for the first time tonight. Great to have you with me. My job tonight is to help us find the best trades, setting up for Thursday. Not just any Thursday, Reaction Thursday, right? The day where everybody comes back into the markets that we're sitting off right in this afternoon session with FOMC this afternoon. So a very, very highly anticipated day coming right around the corner. And in tonight's video, I'm going to talk about my favorite trades for Reaction Thursday. That way you know where the easy money will be for tomorrow. And you know me, I'm going to make sure we cover some of the tricks because you can definitely see there are going to be some traps in these charts here for tomorrow. I'll go over some of those traps, help you stay out of trouble. That way you finish the day tomorrow in the green, whether you're trading on your own or you're trading with us tomorrow in our trade room. Got a lot of great trades we're going to cover here tonight. By the end of this video, you'll have my complete roadmap for all my favorite markets on Thursday. We got the S&P, we got the NASDAQ, and we got the crude to get a lot of great trades. Got some big strong runs on the E-minis, got a nice juicy range on the oil, so you should be very excited about Thursday's trading opportunities. Now, before we jump into the video, though, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. You know, I publish every evening, we publish our best trade ideas right on this video newsletter. I don't want you to miss tomorrow night's video, so make sure you subscribe. Hit that little bell icon because, you know, a lot of this stuff is very time sensitive. Make sure you're getting those alerts. And don't forget, too, if you guys have any questions, drop those questions. I do answer all the questions personally in the comment section. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And if you enjoy the video as much as I enjoy making it, thank you so much for tuning in. Hit that like button. You guys know the drill. Make sure you subscribe. Smash that like button if that's your thing. And let's get into it here for Thursday's trading session. All right. Enough of the intro. Let's get some charts going here. Where's the easy money coming for Reaction Thursday? Boy, there's a lot of good trades I can talk about here tonight in this video. Key components right now, we get these huge moves right now, right, on the S&P and the NASDAQ. The bulls obviously have control running all the way up into our runaway zones. If you're a student of ours here at School of Trade, you know exactly what those mean. So we have some very big moves here. Whenever we have really big, either bullish or bearish moves, there are two basic chart patterns or two basic setups that we always look for. So I'm gonna talk about those two tonight. That way you're ready for both of those scenarios. The key to being a successful trader over the long run is planning your trades and then trading your plan. So we're going to talk about those two key scenarios that you want to be ready to trade tomorrow. So we'll cover that tonight in a lot of detail on the NASDAQ and the S&P. Oil has, you can see, a very juicy range there. We've got some stuff to talk about on oil because if there's one market that could really play some games tomorrow, this is definitely it. We got rollover probably coming at some point tomorrow. We've got Reaction Thursday, and I'll tell you, there is one really, really simple and really important clue on the crude oil chart. If you're relatively new to trading or you haven't made consistent income yet with range-bound markets, you're going to want to stick around and watch for that. Watch that analysis here tonight because there is one just glaring, obvious clue, and I want to make sure you learn this lesson for not just tomorrow, but for every time we see this in the future. Now, don't forget, we're going to break down each of these markets in tonight's video. There will be learning opportunities throughout the entire video here tonight. So whether you trade the oil, whether you trade all of them like we do in our trade room, or you only trade one of them, make sure you watch the entire thing because I'm going to keep this video spicy here tonight by giving different money making opportunities here right in each of these markets for tomorrow. So if you're serious about your trading, make sure you stick around because I'm going to be giving you good stuff here throughout the entire video here tonight. Now, tomorrow, Thirsty Thursday, if you want to call it, Reaction Thursday. Let's make sure we know what the schedule looks like here for tomorrow. There is really one thing on our radar tomorrow. Now let's back up here for a second. Today was FOMC. right? So a lot of professional traders, myself included, we're sitting out the afternoon, right? We're not forcing trades. We're not trading the craziness, the illiquid market that comes on that FOMC announcement. We save our bullets, as we talked about, for the following day. So a lot of the bigger players in the market that were sitting on the sidelines today because they don't want to mess around with that, that really illiquid mess that happens after any big news event, they're going to come roaring back into the markets. They will have read the report from the FOMC where they, of course, raised rates here by 0.25% to 0.5% today. They're going to read all of that stuff. They're going to put their best strategies to work tomorrow. So we do expect there to be some pretty good trades tomorrow morning in our trade room across all of these markets. So we're looking forward to that. Second thing would be, obviously we're still kind of dealing with this situation in Ukraine. Today we heard about the U.S. Providing a ton of military support in various ways, everything from drones to ammo to everything, right? The whole kitchen sink. And so we're kind of wondering right now, China's been talking about, will they help Russia? So this could really escalate at any point. It could also de-escalate. Hopefully it does de-escalate. That is definitely continues to be kind of a cloud, right, hanging over these markets right now. That's a rain cloud, by the way. It kind of looks like a jellyfish, I guess, right? But anyways, that's kind of a cloud, right, hanging over this market. So that is definitely one of the known unknowns that we're dealing with tomorrow. We also, of course, have probably rollover tomorrow. We probably got some rollover coming tomorrow. If you look at your numbers right now, the CL, the oil contract, has 271,000 contracts on the April 22 contract. You'll notice if you go down to the May 22, it's 150. We may have one of those days tomorrow where we may have very similar volume. Sometimes oil will kind of share volume, and so you can probably expect that May 22 contract to either be rolled over tomorrow, which means the volume will be higher tomorrow than the 422 contract, or if they're kind of neck and neck on this, you can probably get away with trading any one of them. But be aware though, like I mentioned earlier this week, we are watching for oil rollover right now. Once that 522 contract has more volume than the 422 contract, we're going to pull the plug on the 422. We'll move to the 522. We'll trade that. So just be aware of that, right? Those are some of the things that are going on in the background here for tomorrow, right? So we got reaction Thursday, the day when everybody comes back after the FOMC announcement. That's a big deal for me. We have the situation in Ukraine. Again, we got rollover here on the oil, likely at some point tomorrow. If not tomorrow, definitely going to be on Friday. As far as the big news tomorrow, there is some big news tomorrow. The Philly Fed, one of the best news events, just to say, right? The Philly Fed manufacturing number is going to be the big news of the morning tomorrow. I'll be honest though, I don't expect any of this news tomorrow to really be a market moving event. I would expect the reaction to the FOMC announcement to be the big deal for tomorrow. A lot of stuff going on with the FOMC, and if we hear anything out of Ukraine. So I don't expect any of this news to really do very much, to really spook these markets tomorrow. It'll take a lot here to override, kind of overshadow what's happening in Ukraine and, of course, the FOMC. So those are kind of the big aspects of the markets for tomorrow. And then, of course, we'll talk about Friday's quad witching in tomorrow night's video. Back to our charts, though. S&P, NASDAQ, crude oil. We're going to cover them all tonight. I'm going to keep it spicy tonight, right, and give you some different learning opportunities throughout each of these charts. Let's jump into the S&P right now. There is a very big, obvious, glaring clue on this chart right now, and that is probably the most important thing on this. It's a very strong, very big move going higher here. Now, whether it's a big move up or a big move down, anytime we make a really big move in one day, right? I mean, look at this number here. That range today, 128 points. Now, I know, kids, I know the last few weeks have been pretty wild, but anything over 100 points on the S&P in a day is considered generally, I realize we've had some pretty wild markets the last few weeks here, but this is a pretty darn big move. 128 points in one day. This is like the market running a marathon, right? We went up, we went down, right? So whenever we see a lot of movement in one day, we know we're usually looking for one of two things. Either one, the market catches its breath with a trading range up here, right? That is very likely. Big move today, small range tomorrow. That's likely for tomorrow. Or a really deep pullback to be able to attract buyers into this market, right? Because as you can imagine, there's going to probably be a lot of traders who will look at this big move up here and go, shoot, I don't want to buy way up here. This is way too high for me to want to get in, right? Can you pull back maybe and give me a little bit of a discounted price? I would love to buy it on a discount right now, but I'm not really interested in buying it high right now. So, those are the two things we're thinking about for tomorrow, right? Will we go sideways in a range, right, with such a big move? That is one scenario. Or will we get this really deep pullback? The deep pullbacks are, and we might get both of those, right? We may see a trading range develop overnight and then get that deep pullback anyway. So there's definitely a possibility we may see both of these. Buyers, right? Buyers have all the momentum right now, right? So buyers would love to buy. I really like this area right here. That's a major, right, prior top up there. So this whole area here is a great level to think we may pull back, right, to that area. Again, big top from previous days this week. So buyers would love, right, to buy a pullback here. I personally will hope we get a deeper pullback down to that 43.10 area. Those are two areas I'm watching here for some buying opportunities tomorrow. I'm going to talk about how to trade them here in a second. If the market goes higher, we definitely have some wide open space overhead. So it wouldn't totally shock me if the market kept on going higher overnight. You will see the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq has a lot more space to run. If you look when you compare these two charts tonight, you'll see there's a big difference between the S&P and the Nasdaq, which is a very big deal. We'll talk about that in a second. But if we keep going higher, same thing, right? Looking for those deep pullbacks here as we go. How would I be a seller on this? What would the sellers want to do right now? Well, I'll tell you, the sellers have plenty of options, but they really have to stay patient right now. With this big move up like this, you'd expect that there'd be a lot of buyers, right, coming to buy that dip here. But the sellers could easily trade a kind of a double top reversal, right, off of that high. That will definitely be something that we'll talk about here tonight on this video. I think that is always one of our favorite trades in our trade room, right? Again, I'm not a big fan of calling a top on this, but if we can get that long, go back up, take some profit off that high, there's no reason why this thing couldn't collapse under its own weight there. And then, of course, we can also look for, right, on this pullback, will the pullback turn into a reversal? And we can look and of course, we'll talk about kind of what a difference looks like between a pullback and a reversal. I can easily see that happening as well, right? There's definitely plenty of ways we can sell this, but we got to stay a little patient to wait for the best setup here. So we're going to cover a little bit on the S&P because you'll notice the Nasdaq will be very similar to this. So we'll cover a little bit on the S&P and we'll cover a little bit on the Nasdaq, and a lot of this stuff will be relatively interchangeable here. Let me get off the runaway zone here. Let me clear off the channel here as well. The channel is great, but really what I want is I want to get down to this area. I want to get down right into this 43.30 area. The channel's fantastic, but in all reality, the channel really doesn't have a lot to do with this at all. It's such a big move going higher here. So at this point now, what you really want to do at this point is you want to get underneath this moving average, right? You want to get down into an area of support, get underneath this moving average, and then see if we can catch some foolish sellers here trying to sell this thing short and take it lower. If I can get this thing to get underneath this moving average, right, get those bears coming in and trying to get short on this, what I can do is I can literally use all of that momentum is bullish right now. Once those bears try to get short on this, I can put myself in their shoes pretty easily here, and we can think about, okay, where are their stops going to be? Some of the easiest money you're going to make in a real strong bull market is just waiting for price to pull back below moving averages, get into a support area, and just trap in those bears, right? Get them trapped right where their stops are going to be. That's now where we look for our first entry on that pullback. Now, I say first entry because there's usually going to be a first pullback right afterwards. We call these, of course, failure into pullback combinations, right? That's one of our favorite pattern setups in our trade room. And you know, guys, I know a lot of you guys have already taken the free trading course, so you've learned the rules of these failures, pullback combos. You know how to find the levels. You know all the rules of them. If you haven't taken that free trading course, I know most of you guys have. If you're one of the few that haven't, though, I would definitely, what I'll do is I'll put a little pop-up up here for you in the upper right-hand corner. Grab that link up there for the free trading course. Again, I know a lot of you guys have taken it already, but grab that link up there. That way you can learn. That way the next time I say, grab that failure into that pullback combination, you'll know all the rules for it. You'll know what charts, this is an 8,000 tick chart. We're not going to trade off an 8,000 tick chart, right? But that, again, that free video class up there, that'll walk you through the entire roadmap that we use every day in our trade room. If you're not making enough money in your trading, or maybe you're taking too many losses, that roadmap will be an easy way to get you back on the right track again, start growing your account, and start loving trading again. So definitely grab that link in the upper right-hand corner. Now, what if we really pull back here? And this is what I hope we get, right? I really hope we get a really deep pullback, right? If the trading gods, right? If the trading gods are listening out there, I hope they come all the way back into this 43.10 area. That would really be where the bigger money is, right? So if we can get a really deep pullback, and again, you can kind of see how I'm drawing these channels out, right? I'm getting creative. I'm using some of these prior swings, bringing it down, drawing it backwards. Again, the channel, I wouldn't worry about too much of the channel. There's too many variations of the channel right now. This is the zone that you're looking for here. Let's get pulling back here now. Now, with this pullback now, because this pullback is going to be so strong, not a reversal yet. We'll talk about what a reversal looks like in a second. Now you want to use the 2-try rule. Let them try once, let them try twice, and then go out. And again, think about where those stops are. Think about where that pain is. The easiest money you're going to make in a bull market is trapping in those bears and hitting them right where it hurts. I know it sounds bad, but that's the easiest money you're going to make in a strong trend like this. We wait for that nice signal, right? We're buying right into those stops, and price will oftentimes really pop back up. Now, make sure you pay attention on this. Ideally, I want to get that first pullback, right? That's the ideal. But here's the reality. When you see a really deep pullback like this and you trap in those bears, oftentimes this move higher is so aggressive because the short squeeze, right? There's so many bears that are trapped in that oftentimes what will happen is it won't pull back all the way. It'll go like this. Right? This used to drive me crazy because I'd wanted that pullback but never would. What you want is you want to go in for a trap. So don't chase it. Don't chase it. Go in for that trap entry. All right. So again, it's called a 2-try failure. And then again, into that, as we go back up to retest the high, right? There's that trap entry for an easy way back in. Again, you're going to see like hundreds of examples of these setups, right? How we apply them to our favorite markets. They're all included in that free course I mentioned, right in the upper right-hand corner. Okay. Now, by now, probably you're wondering, okay, so how do we sell this thing now, right? For example, at what point when it pulls back do we start calling this a bear market? It's very simple. Look what happened back over here, right? Notice how we pulled back, and look at the bears right here. See the bears right here? See they jump off that moving average, right? That's a reversal. And whenever you see one of these 1, 2, 3 reversals, okay, what do? You quickly go out, you mark up that low, you mark up that high, and what is it? First test. Always first test. It's really one of the easiest money trades you're ever going to see. What happens though is too many people, they try to take that first pullback. And remember, if you try to get in on that first pullback right now, you are on the most likely the wrong side of this market, right? That is probably a 30%, probably a 35% winner going lower, right? At that point. Okay, which means I would much rather do the math, right, on the other side of those odds, right? The odds are much better going higher here. It's all a numbers game, right? So what you want to do is you want to get that nice deep pullback. If the bears now, again, they try once, they try twice, back up again. But if they try a couple times here and they can jump off that moving average, now you got it, right? Now we know the Bears have it. Now I know it's not fun to watch it go without you. Believe me, I hate missing. I think I hate missing a trade worse than I like taking a winning trade, for crying out loud. I hate missing trades. It drives me nuts. But hey, it's part of the game. We got to trade where the high odds are. That's not a very high odd trade. Mark up that low now. Mark up that high and repeat after me. First test is the best test. One of my favorite entries is a trap off the high of that channel. Traps often lead to counter trend pullbacks that failure pattern, and then of course that pullback pattern as we go. Where do you think the Bears want to go on this? They definitely want to go down to those lows, right? There's no doubt about that. If you want my strategy, what I do is I take the first leg of that move down and I multiply that on the third leg. And that will really help you fine tune where that real final target is. So what I will do tomorrow is I'll take whatever's earliest, right? Whether it's that, 20, 42.50, right? Or it's that third leg. First leg, third leg as we go lower. All right, guys? Now, I'll be honest, I have a couple more of these reversal patterns that we'll talk about on the NASDAQ. All right, so we're going to cover more of these reversals because this is not the only trick we have for trading reversals. I have some more aggressive reversals I want to show you here on the NASDAQ as well. We'll also talk about one of my favorite reversals in the NASDAQ, which is that double top reversal right off the high, right? That is definitely on my radar for tomorrow, so you better keep on watching here as we go later on in this video. What if we keep going higher? What if we keep going higher? If we keep going higher, we literally still wait for the same thing, right? We wait for that deep pullback to buy it back up, or we wait for a trading range, right? Going sideways here. Okay? Let's talk about the trading range, and let's talk about more reversals here on the NASDAQ. All right? We know where the buyers want to get to right now. They want to jump up to that 44.11 here. That's the next big level here overhead. Let's keep it moving though here, because again, a lot of this stuff will overlap with the S&P here. I don't want to bore you guys by spending all my good stuff here on the S&P. Over to the NASDAQ. Now I'll tell you right now, the NASDAQ is very similar, right? In the sense that the NASDAQ is very bullish right now, very strong move, and again, just a tremendous range today. Again, this NASDAQ is, probably needs a spa day at this point, right? A little massage, because it's been running a marathon pretty much all day today. All kidding aside though, when you see this big of a range in one day, the odds are pretty good. We're going to go sideways in a range, or we're going to see a deep pullback off this high, right? So a lot of this is very, very similar here. I got my buy zones waiting below. I will be keeping an eye out, right, for a trading range. And again, we're up inside, right, this runaway zone. Again, this stuff is all very important. I really like this channel a lot. This channel seems to fit really, really well. But I'll be honest, in a move like this, the channel really isn't the most important part of this. I've got that prior top over here, right? That prior top combined with this top puts a lot of emphasis here. And then again, like I mentioned on the S&P, if the trading gods are listening out there, they'll give us that really deep pullback right back into this zone at that 13,750 area. So, really very similar here than on the S&P, right? If we can get a relatively modest pullback, we can trap in those bears with that failure into pullback combination, right? Target back to the high. If we really get a deep pullback now we think about, right, again, where I'd like to get here, get those bears once, bears twice, trap in those bears there, and then as we kind of, slingshot higher here, right, short squeeze higher, we grab that trap, right, before we go back up and retest those highs. Two try failure, right, and that trap entry. Those are the ones I really hope that we get tomorrow. Oh, and don't forget, not required, but man, does it really help find that little hidden channel off those highs, right? Keep that between you and me, okay? That's one of the easiest ways to figure out which trap is the one you want to take, right? Which trap is the best one. It'll usually line up right off the low of that new channel. We talked about on the S&P the pullback, right, into that battle zone. The bears come in, jumping off the high. We mark up that low, mark up that high, right? And the first test is the best test, right? We've got the first leg and the third leg. Bears want to come down to that low. All right. So again, that's all the same on this. Now, how do we sell this thing? And again, like I mentioned, the Nasdaq. Look at the space we have above the Nasdaq right now. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but look at the space we have above us, right? Look at this space. I mean, it's very easy to see. They kind of they kind of resting here at 14,000, but this is a range. Right? And ranges act like vacuums. So really, if we can get into this, if we can get like 1405 here, 1450 here, it's easy to think this market just keep getting vacuumed up into this area. I'm not sure we can go all the way back on this, right? But look at that range right there. That's a beautiful range. So just kind of the laws of physics right now, the way the markets work. There's a big vacuum effect on that going into tomorrow into the end of the week. So the buyers really have a lot of leg room right now. They got some lay flat seats here on the Nasdaq right now. Again, where the S&P has some major resistance just overhead. So I definitely think there's potential we may see this thing go higher here. And so we're going to talk about that, right? Kind of how to trade that here on the Nasdaq. Now, first of all, let's talk about sellers, right? How do we sell this market right now on the Nasdaq? Let's say, for example, we get one of my favorite trades, right? We get that deep pullback. We lock in the bears. We get paid on the failure and the pullback, and now we take our profit off at the high, right? That's the scenario, right? They pull it back and they run it back to the high, just like you'd expect. What's important to remember is that anytime we see a strong move in one direction, we know, right, that the bullseye is back to retest the high. Okay, as we say in our trade room, mission accomplished, right? That's basically right. It accomplishes the objective, as we say, right? Right now, the objective of the buyers is get in low and take profit back at the highs, right? That is their short-term objective as we see it right now. So once they get back to retest the high, the buyers take their profit, and now we can start looking for one of my favorite kind of combination setups. Are you ready? We talked about the 2-try rule earlier. This is exactly where you want to use it. You want to wait now for the buyers to try a couple times to keep going higher. Remember, at this point now, we've pulled back. The buyers got in, right? The professional buyers got in, and now you're going to see a bunch of rookie buyers, right? A bunch of traders who don't know what they're doing really, trying to buy into that high up there. Too late, right? Should have bought low. Once those small lot traders, right? Once the, don't take it the wrong way, once the dumb money in the market, the weak hands in the market, once they're finished buying high a couple times, their stops now are a sitting duck. Okay, and you can look for what we call a 2-try failure off the high. Now, between you and me, I like to kick these up a couple notches with a trap, right? A trap off this high is money, right? That is a money trade right there. 1 try, 2 try with that trap high. Oh my goodness, right? Almost a guaranteed winner. Another one would be draw a trend line off that low and bring that up at that high, right? And that way you're selling right off that high rather than selling down here. Now, again, that's kind of a kicked up version of it, right? But once those buyers try twice, all those stops sitting here, and now we can go out and get short into those stop losses. Okay? Now, once we get that reversal going back down now what do? Remember, the buyers have already reached their objective, right? They already got what they wanted. And so now we can draw that new trend line down, find that new channel. And what was it again? First test, right? First test is the best test. Now, I love traps, and you're going to learn a whole lot about traps in that free trading course that I mentioned earlier. Love traps. Love to trap those buyers on the wrong side of the moving average with failures and then hit them with pullback patterns as well. What would the target be on this one? It's pretty easy. This leg, and then obviously all the way back down, right? We go from there. Right? So again, think about these 2 setups, right? The 2-try failure off that high. And then as the market rolls over now, we now have the buyers mission accomplished, which means now it's all gravy for that first test off the high of that channel. Right? Call it a double top reversal, a crown reversal as we refer to it in our video classes. It's just a fantastic trade, right, as we go. Then, how about this one too? We saw a lot of this, right? See what happened here? Kind of pop and grind. What if it pulls back, Okay, this is likely. This is, probably not the one I would expect tomorrow, but who knows, right? I mean, we're not in the business of predicting. We're in the business of planning the scenarios and then trading the plan, right? I don't know what the hell's going to happen overnight. I don't know what Putin's going to say, or Biden's going to say, or she's going to say, or he's going to say. I don't know, right? All I know is that we'll be ready for it. So now we roll over, right? But now, instead of the bears coming in and going 1, 2, and back up, instead of it jumping off that moving average, now it kind of grinds, right? Grinds down. These can be tricky. These can be a bit frustrating because what happens is you don't really get a chance to sell. It's not very convincing, but it kind of grinds down here. Basically, this is a liquidation move, right? The buyers who bought this up, remember, there's a good chance there weren't any big money traders buying that move up. That was just probably a lot of small lot traders here taking it higher. Again, a lot of big lot traders I know, they don't go anywhere near these FOMC announcements or non-farm payrolls. They save their image for the next day. So if it rolls over and kind of grinds down here, you are ready for this. Mark up that low, okay? Find that channel way off the big top, right? Way off the big top, okay? It's going to look kind of weird when it happens, but then look left. You got it. Find those traps, find those failures. Again, you're going to see a lot of examples of how we apply these setups in that course I mentioned earlier, right? You'll have a lot clearer idea of what the rules are and how to draw the channel and things like that, right? So that's kind of that pop and grind, right, as we go lower here. And then again, first leg, third leg, very, very easy to find that final target. We know where it wants to go, right? We know where that wants to go. All right. So we got a couple different ways to trade. I've got one more reversal I want to talk about, but I'm going to save that for the oil. All right. I'm gonna hold you to that, right? Watching the video tonight. So again, make sure you keep on watching. I got one more reversal, which I think is perfect for oil tomorrow. And again, all the stuff we're talking about in the S&P, on the Nasdaq right now can also apply to the S&P. One more thing here. What if you go sideways here? All right. This is a very likely scenario. It might happen here. Might be up here. Don't be surprised here if this thing kind of goes sideways here around this 14,000. Again, I don't know what's going to happen. All I know is what the odds are of certain things setting up. That's all I know. That's all you know too. That's all Warren Buffett knows. And nobody knows more. So anyways, if it goes sideways here right now, right, we start trading sideways. What you want to do is, and we're going to go into more detail on this inside that video class, but once we have an idea of where this range is, that's going to tell us now. What I do is I take the size of that trading range and I use it to project key levels of, in this case, support below that trading range. You're going to see examples of that on oil here in a second. All right. So once we have that trading range, that's going to give us the information we need to kind of know where the best entry locations are going to be. It's going to probably be somewhere around this area, right? Around this 850 area. And again, this also applies to the S&P as well. Okay, so there's a lot of ways to trade a range. First way is wait for that pullback, right, into that level of support. Once you get that pullback now, remember, it's a bull market. Ranges are magnets. Okay? Think of a range like a huge vote, right? Where this is where we like the price right now. Okay? If the market's hanging out and going sideways, the market is accepting that as the most important price right now. So it acts like a range. When this thing pulls back now, with all this bullishness, with a range magnet, I'm still amazed how many sellers try to sell that first pullback. And I have to say, I was one of them when I was a new trader. When I was a new trader, every breakout seems so likely to succeed, doesn't it? They all look so convincing. But again, we're bullish in this scenario in a range. So once those bears get short, just buy right into their stop losses. And then here's where the fun stuff is. The buyers here, they want to get to the other side of that trading range. Okay, so now you can do is hurry up, find that new channel, and grab that, you guessed it, that first test. Right? Now, on this particular setup, this follow-up trade here, what I'll do is I'm going to measure the amount we went below. I'm going to measure above. Okay? And that's going to be the next objective. So what I'll do is I'll find that new channel. I'll grab that first test. Okay, and remember, keep in mind, right, this could be a trap entry, could be a failure entry, could be a pullback entry. We don't know it yet. Again, this is a slow time frame. This is a 4,000 tick chart. We'll trade a much faster time from the trade room. You'll see examples of that stuff in the free trading course, right? So again, we grab that first test, target off at the top of the range, and then target off at the pendulum swing on the other end, right? It's a not a 2-try failure. It's a failure pattern. Right, it's again pullback, trap, right? Failure there off the low. We're targeting now going back to the other side, right, and that pendulum swing. Now, is it possible? We could get both, where we go range bound and then a really deep pullback? Hell yeah, right? That is what you really want. Right? I know it's scary, but that's what you want, right? You want that really strong shot going lower, and when that happens, what do? You use the 2-try failure, right? You go the 1, the 2, so you can apply the same stuff, right? Failure right there. We go up, grab that trap, right? Grab that trap. And then where's my objective? Again, in this point, right? The pendulum swing on these usually pretty big, so the pendulum isn't very useful on that, right? What usually happens on these types of deep pullbacks is there's usually going to be some sort of trend line right there. Right? It'll usually be something like this, it'll go up and then come back like that. There'll be a trend line like that, right? That's kind of usually where that ends up being, just because that pendulum swing is so darn big at that point, right? So we're buying low, we're buying that trap, taking our profit off at the other sides of that trading range. All right, guys, there are a couple breakouts. There are definitely a few breakouts that I want to go over on this. Okay, let's talk about the breakouts on the oil. All right, but we got a pretty good idea here now on the NASDAQ. And again, I hate to kind of repeat myself here, but again, they're very, very similar there to the NASDAQ and the S&P. Let's wrap up the video here tonight over on the oil. And again, we are watching oil really closely right now. As we open up in Asia, it's, what is it? It's about 625 right now. So markets are open right now in Asia. And you can see right away, they're still holding that 422 contract right now. So, just be aware of this. Just be aware of this. Once the volume is greater on the 522, we'll make that move over. As you can see right now, the bears are in control. There is obviously a range here, right? If somebody asked me what's the, how to describe today, I would say, the bears are definitely in control of this. Every time the market popped up, the buyers were unable to get anything going back to the other side here. So the bears are definitely in control of this market into that trading range. But really the most important clue on this, the biggest kind of overview of this is it's an inside day. We pretty much spent the entire day today right inside that, there was that big crash right yesterday morning, set market lower. But look, we pretty much spent the entire day inside the range from yesterday. And so again, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. There's a lot going on right now in the world that really could move these markets in different directions. But the reality is whenever we see a day that's inside yesterday's day, then we know the odds are the best by buying low and selling high. Right? We're buying low, we're selling high, as the professionals say, right? We're fading the breakouts, right? So I got my trading range. I got my levels of support and resistance around that trading range. Okay, buyers want to buy off support below, right? Sellers, they want to sell off resistance, up overhead. Okay, that's kind of the easiest way to look at this right now. It's an inside day, which means the highest percentage trades tomorrow until we get a breakout will be buying low and selling high. Now, I definitely think there's going to be some curveballs here on this, and I think there's ways for us to trade, really both of these right now. For example, I think as we go higher here, and look back at this one right here. Right? Here's a really good example. So we go lower, right? We start pulling back here and there's a trend line on the way. So we got to get underneath that trend line and use it for our short. So we know where our sell zone is. We got a great level of resistance up there. Lots of reasons to want to sell off that high. But this is what you want to think about, right? As the market begins to go higher here, even though we want to sell short off this high, we got to really take a look at that trend line, right? And try to use that trend line here now for that, again, for that up and over, pardon the drawing tool there, right? Up and over, right? And then grabbing that short there. Now, these will oftentimes, set up as failure patterns, right? We go up above the moving average. The buyers try to buy the pullback, and we're selling into stops, right? But just be aware of that trend line coming in. We want to make sure we're either selling off that trend line or make sure we're selling into those stop losses, right? Using our very typical failure pattern there, right? As we go. Now, this also can apply going higher, but here's something to consider as we go higher here, right? Because I think this is definitely where the buyers have a shot here for tomorrow. Let's say, for example, now there's a trend line coming up here, right? Let's say, for example, the buyers come in and they really jump off that moving average, right? They really jump off moving average. Okay, again, remember, inside day here. So we expect there's going to be some bears waiting up here, right? Most likely, especially around 100 there, I would imagine, right? But if we can get a nice strong pop going higher here, right? If I can get that 1, 2, 3 reversal now, I think it's very realistic here now for us to grab a short scalp, mark that high, mark that low, grab that first test is the best test. Again, there'll likely be a trend line coming up here, right? That'll really be the key. So if I can use that trend line to my advantage, again, remember, it's not enough to see a pullback. We have to get it up, pull back, and you got to see that jump, right, off the moving average. Once we get that jump off the moving average, now we know no one's going to try to sell. They shouldn't be trying to sell into that area, right? It's too strong. If they can break above it, though, now I can grab that, right? I can grab that first test off that new channel, right? And again, this will be a small trade here, right? We're not expecting this thing. Hopefully it does, right? I'll leave a runner back to that 100, but don't expect a lot of this one, right? What is more likely in this situation is we go up, we take out that high, and then what? And then we use that to try failure, right? The bulls have all the momentum, but again, it's inside day, right? So I'm not trying to buy up here unless I can see this thing really go, right? Unless it really pops, then we can start looking at those channels, right? Those pop and grinds, right? For example, right? Maybe it pops and grinds higher. If it pops and grinds, just grab that, that channel I mentioned earlier and grab that first pullback, right? That same technique will apply there too, okay? But again, in this situation, I think it's very reasonable for us to grab a little quick scalp with a 1, 2, 3 reversal, right? Quick scalp off that low. And then once we get up into this area up here, fade, right? Sell high up here. Buyers once, buyers twice. There are those stops, failure pattern. And then again, remember, grab that first channel and hit that first channel, right, with that first channel test. Okay, and we've talked about this a lot already, so hopefully this is kind of bringing that all together here right now. All right, so those are kind of the ways I like to sell this thing as it goes. And again, if it pulls up here and just simply blasts right off this thing and starts to short squeeze, you know the drill. Again, we're at resistance, but remember, if there's this much momentum, okay, you may not get rich off that trade, but what's probably going to happen is you're going to probably get that grind move. Right, you're going to probably get some money out of that, right, out of that first test. It may not keep going forever, right? But again, with that much momentum, little trap entry off the low of that channel, target off the retest, and see how far it'll go, right? So again, I think we can definitely play, or it retests the high, 1, 2, and then dump it back down into that trading range. So I'm not afraid of scalping off the lows of those channels, but just be aware though. You don't want to chase it, right? You want to wait for that nice deep pullback and hit it from there. As we go lower here, this is where we definitely have some chances to be a buyer. There's a lot of support down here, not just today's low, but yesterday's low too, right? This whole area really below 95 could be considered a support area here. And I've also got this measured move here, which I think is kind of funny how it's right below that low. So this whole area, this whole area really could be seen as one big buy zone. Now, obviously, we're very bearish right now, not just technically, but fundamentally, right? We're swimming in oil. This price should have never really gone as high as it did. So there's a lot of bearishness in this market right now. But if we can get down into some of these areas of support, Is it realistic to think we might get yeah, absolutely, bears once, bears twice, right? Find some of those little hidden channels, grab that trap, right? And punch it. Okay, now I would definitely think of a full size position on a 2-try failure. And then as we go higher here, right, maybe a half size position as we grab that first test, right? Because obviously at this point now, there's going to probably be some trend lines coming down over, you know what I mean? There's going to be some issues here going higher here. As I've mentioned many times in this video before, when we have a really obvious, in this case, bearish trend, I like the bounces off the low, right? I like to grab the 1-2 bounces off the low, but then when it comes to finding that first, right, that first test, it's just not as reliable, right? Just be aware of that, right? So the first, again, the bounce off the low is great, but you're going to want to go small size, keep a really tight, tight target, get rid of that risk quickly, and then if it runs, it'll run, right? But if you get to choose, you want to buy as low as you can buy right now, right? Because as it goes higher, you know what's going to happen. There'll be more channels coming in here, more bears coming in, right? Trying to sell this thing as we go. As we go lower, last thing here tonight on the video, we have a really big juicy range down here with that big round number right in the middle. As we've been talking about, remember, 100, 95, right? Don't worry about the 94, the 92, right? The only round numbers you got to worry about right now on oil are 95 and 90. And that's because the ranges are just so darn big right now. Yeah, when things calm down, $1 and dollar moves are pretty good to use in oil. But right now though, don't waste your time on 92, 93, 96. Those aren't going to be enough, right? So the next big round number, we're at 95 right now. Next will be 90 down there. And look at the range we have down here, right? You know how much we love ranges, right? Ranges, can I get all the way back there? Yeah, look at that huge range back there. So again, there's a ton of vacuum here. I think a lot of this move lower right now, though, might be dependent on what we hear from Ukraine overnight, unfortunately. So it might be a little bit of a waiting game on this. But that's definitely something we're looking for. What I would kind of anticipate on this as we go lower, and we talked about this yesterday, one of my favorite trades going lower on this would be what I call a 2-try trap. Okay, we haven't talked about this pattern yet. I promised you one more breakout. Let's say, for example, this thing just torches and runs lower. If it makes a really strong move lower, blowing right to that measured move, watch for that strong move down, that shallow pullback, and a lower low in price. Strong move. Remember, anytime we see a strong move in one direction, it means the odds are very good we get a retest of that low. The shallow pullback doesn't allow anybody to get in. Okay? Then the lower low confirms the move. See, sometimes what happens is sometimes the market makes a V bottom, right? It'll run lower, it'll pull right back up, right? Like this. It's going to happen. It is going to happen, right? So you want to see that lower low. Strong move down, shallow pullback, lower low in price. When that happens, that trap right there is a great easy money trade. Again, this could easily apply to the NASDAQ, right? Let's say the NASDAQ goes up, retests, and drops, right? That's a good trade for the NASDAQ or the S&P, right? Any one of these markets can use this trade. In a big move down on the S&P, big move down on the NASDAQ, or a big move down on the oil here, right? That's a good one to look for. Okay, and obviously too, right, a pop and grind could be used down here, right? Draw that channel, find that big top, right? Look for that first test, right? Off that high. First leg, third leg, right? Same idea here. Okay, I also think, and we talked about this last night on last night's video, I think there's good potential here. We might see a strong move down. We may not get that 2-try trap. The bears may try once. The bears may try twice. We can sell that reversal back up and then find a new channel coming down, trap in those buyers, and hit it again, right? Back down to retest that low, right? That's not difficult to think that's going to happen tomorrow, right? We get a strong move down. We don't see that 2-try trap we just talked about, right? We see higher lows. The bears try once, bears try twice. Again, little scalp, right? Little short squeeze back up again. We go out, find that new channel. We know it's an overall bear market right now, right? This is not a reversal yet. Could be, right? If it is, we'll use the 1, 2, 3 reversal and buy that first pullback. If it's not, though, what do? We rope in those bears. Remember, it's a very strong move down. So the odds are still pretty good. They're going to get back to retest that low, right? We buy using that seller failure pattern, right? 2 try third because going against the momentum, and we hit it again, right off the high of that new channel. So there's some really creative ways we can do this here as we go. Right, I'm very interested to see what's going to happen tomorrow. Again, I think the pullback right now could be a little bit tricky with that trend line coming over. It could easily end up popping, giving you that scalp, and then back down again. So anyways, we'll cut things off here for now. I want to thank you so much for watching all the way through. If you're watching at this point right now, you are the person I do these videos for. I know you're very committed to being successful. And I'll tell you right now, if you are this committed to being successful in your trading, what are you waiting for right now? You know, I don't mean to be upfront or be direct, but you know, what are you waiting for right now, right? Get into our trade room, because our trade room is where the good stuff is every day. Every morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time, we open things up. I'll put all the free course links. I'll put all of the membership links in the description of this YouTube video. If you're on the website right now, I'll put a button for you right below this video on the website. Don't be afraid to use that little chat window that pops up, right? Don't be afraid to call the office. Again, I know I talk fast on these videos, but I have a lot I want to share. I will gladly slow it down, make sure you have all the right tools you need, the right account set up right to go, and find you. We get some great membership specials right now. So don't be afraid to call the office, right? We love to help out with anything to make sure you're getting on the right track. If you're not making enough money, if you're taking too many losses, or if you're like me, right? When I was a new trader, I had horrible anxiety when I was a new trader. Once I found a mentor, it really made everything easier, because I was able to really shorten that learning curve. For me, psychologically, it was so much easier for me to work with a mentor than to go out and just try to do it on my own by watching a million YouTube videos. It was a big turning point for me. So wherever you are on that spectrum, I can't wait to work with you, especially if you're watching the video this late in this video right now. You are exactly who I work hard for every day. So get registered. I'll see you tomorrow morning at the opening bell in the trade room. It's been a great week so far. I'll see you there tomorrow morning. If not, come back and see me tomorrow night. We're going to do it again. We'll run it back and do it again. We got big quad witching Friday coming in tomorrow night's video. So we got more good stuff coming here tomorrow night. All right, guys, get out of here. Thank you for watching. Be well out there. Be nice to each other, will ya? And be here next time. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.